Gather the Spirit, harvest the power. Our separate fires will kindle one flame. Witness the mystery of this hour. Our trials in this light appear all the same. Gather in peace, gather in thanks, gather in sympathy now and then. Gather in hope, compassion, and strength. Gather to celebrate once again. Gather the Spirit of heart and mind. Seeds for the sowing are laid in store. Nurtured in love and conscience refined, with body and spirit united once more. Gather in peace, gather in thanks, gather in sympathy now and then. Gather in hope, compassion, and strength. Gather to celebrate once again. As Unitarian Universalists, we believe truth is larger than any one book or way. Religion and science, they go hand in hand. Integrity requires freedom of conscience. Diversity is something to celebrate. In the struggle for justice, we come alive. Our highest aspiration and calling is love. Gather the Spirit growing in all, drawn by the moon and fed by the sun. Winter to spring and summer to fall, the chorus of life resounding as one. Gather in peace, gather in thanks, gather in sympathy now and then. Gather in hope, compassion, and strength. Gather to celebrate once again. Whoever you are, whomever you love, whatever path you are on, you are welcome here.
Chalice lighting words today are from Bran Lennox. We have chosen to bring ourselves here to this sanctuary to gather as a community of faith. We join together in solidarity as a covenanted people who are drawn together by the promise of connection and the mysterious pull of the unanswerable. We draw on experiences of love and wonder to lift our hearts and move us beyond the mundane. As seekers, wanderers, appreciators of nature, connoisseurs of curiosity, and creators of connection, our paths have converged today so that we might become present to the spirit that is worship. And so let us worship together.
Hey folks, hello West Shore. It is great to see you this morning. Isn't that a wonderful chalice lighting reading? Why we gather together. Isn't that wonderful? Oh my God, whoever's clapping. Come on now. It's fantastic. That's why we're here. That's why this place is the best place to be on a Sunday morning in Cleveland. Glad you're here. I'm back from a couple weeks summer leave. So glad to be here with you again. Looking forward to a great year together. So glad you're here this morning joining us. We got a lot of stuff going on. Please be sure to check out your West Shore Weekly in your order of service. So much good stuff going on. I do want to emphasize one thing here. That is our annual in-gathering service on September 14th. It marks the beginning of our program year here at West Shore and the startup of Sunday school classes for all ages. This year's fun theme is Finding Nemo. You know, it's about the journey of life. That's what that movie is about. Overcoming fear, learning to trust, the importance of friendship, and the power of resilience in the face of adversity. As the character Dory in the movie likes to say, just keep swimming. Just keep swimming. We are swimming into a new year together. Now, between today and September 14th, we are going to be hiding 3 Nemo toys each week, okay? Somewhere in the building for you to find. That is each week for 4 weeks running. So there's going to be plenty of fish to find in the building. If you find a fish, you want to keep the fish, take a selfie with it, and you want to send that picture to Dorothy Richards, who will enter your name into a drawing for a very special prize. I know what it is. It's very cool. It's very cool. So watch for the next e-news for Dorothy's contact information, or you can just call the office. We will do the drawing at In-Gathering. By the way, if you want to help make In-Gathering one of the most fun and engaging services all year long, volunteer. Sign up in the rotunda or volunteer online via the link in our weekly e-news. Finding Nemo, I should add, has a lot of water in it. There's a lot of water in that movie. Thank you for that kind person laughing at perhaps a lame joke. I don't know. Well, a lot of water in the movie. It's a reminder that In-Gathering is when we observe our annual water communion. On September 14th, be sure to bring a small amount of water from your summer travels or from a meaningful local source and join us in honoring the many journeys that bring us back together. Now, let me ask, if you are here for the first or second time and you do not mind people knowing, raise your arm. Let us give you a special greeting. All right, come on. Glad you're here. Thank you. And if you've been around for a while, you know what I always follow that up with. If you are an introvert and that didn't feel good for you, you are welcome too. You are welcome too. We're glad everyone is here this morning. So we're going to go into our greeting time. It's going to end with the sounding of the bowl. Please be listening for that, because from that we will go right into our land acknowledgement. So having said that, let's greet each other right now. Come on. come to this good morning, remembering the journey of freedom. The land we are on was once another's. We mourn the legacies of oppression. Healing is our way forward. Joy is the birthright of all.
Good morning, West Shore. I'm Kathy Little, and I'm the new... Thank you. I'm the new chair of the Justice and Outreach Council, and it is our privilege to select the recipient of the August Outreach Offering. And this will go to Prospera, which is a local nonprofit organization dedicated solely to prisoner workforce empowerment. Please welcome Mark Hauk, Director of Operations, to tell us more about Prospera.
Now, if I say good morning, West Shore, do I get the same response? All right, very good, very good. Prospera Reentry, it's just what it says. We work with men and women that are incarcerated in the state of Ohio. We're very unique from the standpoint that we work with them during their incarceration. And the most unique piece of our organization is that we recruit businesses in Northeast Ohio, and we're working to expand throughout the state, but we recruit businesses in Northeast Ohio that we then transport men from Grafton Correctional Institution to those businesses to work during the day. And then we provide the transportation back. Why do we do that? Because statistics show that after 1 year, 75% of men and women that are released from incarceration within our state and nationally, about the same number, are still unemployed. It's very difficult for them to gain employment, and we know what happens when someone's not employed. They tend to turn back to what they've done in the past. As well as the job opportunities, and they make a living wage when they are with us, and we're transporting them to and from the institution to work in the businesses. And obviously we partner with the Department of Corrections to do all of this. They're a very good partner. And the employers that we work with, that I seek out, they pay for that transportation piece. Now, their citizen employee that may start at $18 an hour, they may start the men or women at $16.50 because they don't have rent to pay, they don't have to pay health insurance, they're not putting food on their family's table. So that at times compensates for some of the transportation cost. And we do all the other things that reentry organizations do. Help with housing, help with employment if they reach out to us after incarceration and they have not been part of our program in the institution. Many of the men and women that we work with have never had a job before. So we also have a workforce development program that we encourage them to go through, and character development program as well. Help them with those soft skills. When they get to that point of employment, whether it's while they're incarcerated and we're transporting them to and from, or after incarceration and they're seeking employment. One of our best partners is a company in Strongsville by the name of Woodpeckers. They make a high-end woodworking tool. We take a van of 14 men there every day of Monday through Friday to work there. They are our best employment partner. They've been with us almost 2 years, and they have hired, and the objective is that company will hire them upon release. They have given 6 men in the last 2 years the opportunity to work for them upon release. They've made offers to everyone that had worked for them, but some of them are not from the Cuyahoga County area, so they returned to their home. What else could I share? Okay, I'm at my 3 minutes. I told Kathy to give me the sign, and I'll close at that. I'll be here after your service, and we are always looking for new employers. So if you have any interest, stop and see me. Thank you.
The offertory will now be given and gratefully received. Okay. Good morning. Back in my earlier decades, I would suddenly think or dream of someone I hadn't seen in years. The next day, that person was standing behind me in line at the bank, or would call me on the telephone. I marveled at the coincidence. I chalked it up to women's intuition. I've always been a seeker into the ooh-wah-wah since those first coincidences. But it wasn't until a family vacation in 1995 that I understood the reality of the unseen, the unscientific, the unprovable. My husband Craig, daughter Ariel, and I were on a 3-week driving tour of the United States in our old Dodge Caravan, pulling a pop-up camper. We took a northern route, visiting iconic landmarks, the Badlands, Wall Drug, Black Hills, Deadwood, Mount Rushmore, the high desert of Idaho. We cut the corner of Oregon and continued down into the redwoods of California, checking out places Craig and I had lived back in the 70s. Then on to the Grand Canyon, Zion National Park in Utah, and we drove the Pony Express route headed east. Our appreciation for the vast wonder and beauty of these United States grew as we covered 7,178 miles in that old Dodge Caravan. It was in Wyoming where my story of pay attention took place. A week into the trip, we visited the Medicine Wheel, an ancient and sacred indigenous Native American site in the Big Horn National Forest. It stands at an elevation of 9,642 feet above sea level. You can Google more information about the history and significance of the site, but here is the relevant information for this particular story. The 1995 brochure states, "The Medicine Wheel and Medicine Mountain reflect 10,000 years of Native American culture. The site is sacred and revered by Indian people. It is important that the medicine wheel be treated with the utmost respect given any holy place. The site is protected by federal laws, and it lists those laws. Since 1993, the road which leads to the wheel has been closed to vehicular traffic. A 1.5 mile foot trail now leads to the summit. It continues. There's a lot in here, but this is what's important. You can do your part to protect the medicine wheel. Do not disturb or remove any cultural resources within or around the historic site. Respect the privacy of others at the wheel. Do not remove sacred prayer offerings left by Native Americans. So, we parked in the designated area and were met by a national park ranger who accompanied us on the 1.5 mile walk to the summit. He spoke to us of the sacredness of the space and reminded us that we were not to disturb anything nor take anything from the site. He also commented that people have actually mailed back and returned things they had taken due to unfortunate events that occurred after leaving the medicine wheel. We were duly warned. Native prayer offerings were attached to the protective fence that surrounded the wheel. I understood the sacredness of the site and felt the need to leave my own prayer. So I tied a tiny piece of cloth to the fence, careful not to disturb anything. In silent reverence, we walked back to our vehicle along that 1.5 mile trail. A little more than halfway down, I stopped and picked up a piece of gravel from the foot trail. My husband and daughter looked at me with wide-eyed stares. What are you doing? You're not allowed to take anything from the site. Oh, it's a piece of modern gravel, I said. What is sacred about paving gravel? Besides, we're a mile away from the site. They insisted that I put it back on the ground. I stuck it in my pocket. On our drive down that steep mountain, I smelled something burning. I think we should stop, Craig. Yeah, he said, I'm trying, but the brakes aren't holding. He steered the van to the edge of the road, close to the chain link fence at the edge of the cliff. I don't remember how we managed to actually stop. Perhaps he jammed a transmission into park. I don't know, but we stopped. I exited the passenger side to check the front wheels and saw flames. The brakes are on fire, I shouted. Craig grabbed the closest liquid, which was a bottle of lemonade, and doused the flames on both front brakes. There we are. That's my daughter Ariel looking through the fence at the vast valley below that could have been our final resting place. And Craig staring me down. I believe I left that piece of gravel right there. Throughout the remaining 2 weeks, we experienced continual mechanical problems. I didn't want to believe that taking that piece of modern gravel had anything to do with our mechanical challenges. It was an old van, and yet the timing was conspicuous, and I had been warned, and I knew better. I don't play games with the spirits anymore. Sometime back in mid-2019, I had a premonition, a feeling of dread washed over me. I never mentioned it to anyone, attributing it to general anxiety disorder, but it was too specific. Something was coming. a widespread disaster of some sort that would prevent me from being able to reach my daughter, who at the time was living in London. 6 to 8 months later, in March of 2020, the world began to shut down. And in October of 2020, my daughter was hospitalized for 10 days and incapacitated for weeks after with a bulging disc in her back. It was too dangerous for me to fly to London to help her and her husband, who was trying to work from home with 2 children who were also home on lockdown. Is it intuition? Coincidence? Messages from beyond? Is my anxiety a gift? I can't say for sure. Whether or not I believe, the mystery is real.
Let us now observe our beautiful community ritual of "For all that is our lives." We bring all of ourselves to this place, all of who we are to this sacred community. And whether the joys or sorrows, concerns are written down on one of these cards, or they remain unspoken in our hearts, I'll take them into my prayers this week, meditations this week, and pray for all that is our lives. One of the longest-running science fiction TV shows in network television history is The X-Files. It originally aired in the 1990s up till 2002 and saw revivals in 2016 and a further season in 2018. In the show, X-Files are unsolved cases involving mystical and paranormal phenomena collected by the FBI, but no one really takes them seriously except for this one special agent nicknamed Spooky, who's passionately curious about them, happily willing to risk his reputation to get to the truth because the truth is out there, right? His name is Fox Mulder. First time we meet him, he is in his office in the basement of the FBI building, the very bowels of it. You can't get any lower than that in the bureaucratic food chain. It's a clear message from his FBI bosses about their general disdain towards the whole X-File business. That is, until Fox Mulder, eventually joined by the plucky Dana Scully, begins uncovering some serious strangeness and threatens to blow the lid off of normality. That is when the authorities start to push back quite nastily. Now, that image of the X-Files, it is loaded with powerful themes, spooky happenings, passionate curiosity, how the truth is out there, but also the ordeal of facing denial, disdain, serious risk to one's reputation and career, and more. An X-File means all of that together. And I am here today to tell you that X-Files aren't just fiction. Honest to God, real life X-Files exist. Let's consider one. Right now we've already heard Ria's. Let's consider another one. I learned about this one by reading a book by Elizabeth Lloyd Mayer, PhD, entitled Extraordinary Knowing: Science, Skepticism, and the Inexplicable Powers of the Human Mind. It's Dr. Mayer's personal X-File, and it changed her life. That's Dr. Mayer. Here's the full story from her. I quote, "In 1991, I was teaching in the psychology department of the University of California at Berkeley and at the University Medical Center in San Francisco. I was doing research on female development and seeing patients in my psychoanalytic practice. I was a member of numerous professional associations, doing committee work, attending international meetings, functioning on editorial boards, and lecturing all over the country. I was a training and supervising analyst in the American Psychoanalytic Association. I was busy and fulfilled, and life was running along the way it does. My 11-year-old daughter, Meg, who'd fallen in love with the harp at age 6, had begun performing. She wasn't playing a classical pedal harp, but a smaller, extremely valuable instrument built and carved by a master harp maker. After a Christmas concert, her harp was stolen from the theater where she was playing. For 2 months, we went through every conceivable channel trying to locate it. The police, instrument dealers from across the country, the American Harp Society, newsletters, even a CBS TV news story. Nothing worked. Finally, a wise and devoted friend told me, if you really want that harp back, you should be willing to try anything. Try calling a dowser. Well, the only thing I knew about dowsers was that they were that strange breed who locate underground water with forked sticks, right? But according to my friend, the really good dowsers can locate not just water, but lost objects as well. Finding lost objects with forked sticks? Well, nothing was happening on the police front, and my daughter, spoiled by several years of playing an extraordinary instrument, had found the series of commercial harps we'd rented simply unplayable. So, half embarrassed, but desperate, I decided to take my friend's dare. I asked if she could help me locate a really good dowser, the best, I said. She promptly called the American Society of Dowsers and came back with the phone number of the Society's current president, Harold McCoy, in Fayetteville, Arkansas. I called him that day. Harold picked up the phone, friendly, cheerful, heavy Arkansas accent. I told him I'd heard he could dowse for lost objects and that I'd had a valuable harp stolen in Oakland, California. Could he help locate it? Give me a second, he said. I'll tell you if it's still in Oakland. He paused. Then, well, it's still there. Send me a street map of Oakland and I'll locate that harp for you. Skeptical? I was, but after all, what did I have to lose? I promptly overnighted him a map. 2 days later, he called back. Well, I got that harp located. It's in the second house on the right on D Street, just off L Avenue. Well, I never heard of any of those streets, neither of them. But I did like the sound of the man's voice. I did like it, whoever he was. And I don't like backing down on a dare. Why not drive to the place that he had indicated? Why not drive there? At least I'd get the address. I looked on an Oakland map and found the neighborhood. It was miles away from anywhere I'd ever been. I got in my car, drove to Oakland, located the house, wrote down that number, called the police, told them I'd gotten a tip that the harp might be at that house. Well, it wasn't good enough for a search warrant, they said. They were going to close the case. There was no way this unique, portable, and highly marketable item hadn't already been sold. It was gone forever as far as the police were concerned. But I just couldn't quite let it go. Was it the dare? Was it my admiration for the friend who'd instigated the whole thing? Was it my devastated daughter? Or was it just that I genuinely liked the sound of that voice on the other end of the line? And by the sound of that phone, it must be that last one. Must be that last one. So I decided to post flyers in the 2-block area around that house, offering a reward for the harp's return. It was a crazy idea, but why not? I put up flyers in those 2 blocks, and only those 2 blocks. I was embarrassed enough about what I was doing to tell just a couple friends about what was going on. 3 days later, my phone rang. A man's voice told me he'd seen a flyer outside his house describing a stolen harp. He said it was exactly the harp that his next-door neighbor had recently obtained and shown him. He wouldn't give me his name or number, but offered to get the harp back to me. And 2 weeks later, after a series of telephone calls, he told me to meet a teenage boy at 10 p.m. in the rear parking lot of an all-night Safeway. I arrived to find a young man loitering in the lot. He looked at me. He said, "The harp?" I nodded. Within minutes, the harp was in the back of my station wagon, and I drove off. 25 minutes later, I turned into my driveway, and I had the thought, this changes everything. And that is Dr. Mayer's personal X-file. The recovery of her daughter's stolen harp in Oakland, California, through the mysterious efforts of one Harold McCoy, who used dowsing rods to locate it while he was multiple states away in Fayetteville, Arkansas. This is how she encountered evidence of a truly mysterious faculty in human beings that transcends the limits of the physical, and all it needs is something to focus it, this faculty, something to focus it and give it expression. Now, if it makes sense to speak of an inner Fox Mulder, the part of a person that is fired up for all things spooky and paranormal, right? Well, then this whole episode fired up Dr. Mayer's inner Fox Mulder for sure. And I want to ask, do you have an inner Fox Mulder? Do you have an inner Fox Mulder? No, that's a real question. I'm asking you. You guys are paralyzed in your seats. Is it a little fired up right now, the inner Fox Mulder? A little bit? Once again, so many of you are like paralyzed. Your inner Fox Mulder is paralyzed. But you know what? If there's an inner Fox Mulder, there's also inner FBI bosses. And the inner FBI bosses are not pleased. They are very clear in their denial about the whole thing. Finding lost objects with forked sticks? I mean, that's what Dr. Mayer said to herself, and that's her inner FBI boss coming up in her. Or that idea of posting the flyers, how it struck her as crazy. If she had followed the lead of her inner FBI bosses, her story would have ended even before it began. But she pressed ahead, pressed back against the denial. She saw the story through. I'm curious, when you saw what today's sermon topic was, did your own inner FBI bosses mutter their displeasure? Did they? What is that strange senior minister man up to now? Interestingly, when word of Dr. Mayer's experience got out to her medical and psychoanalytic colleagues, the dam broke. A dam broke, and all of a sudden they began to inundate her with accounts of their own mystical experiences. The stories, she says, were all about knowing things in bizarrely inexplicable ways, like, my patient walked in and I knew her mother had died. No clues, I just knew it instantly. Or, I woke up in the middle of the night like I had heard a shot. And the next day, I found out it was exactly when my patient took a gun and tried to kill herself. Or, I suddenly felt that my partner's son was in trouble. I called my partner, and it worried him enough that he tracked down his son. His son had been in a bad car accident, and my partner got there just in time to make a decision about a surgery that probably saved his life. Dr. Mayer goes on to say, I was particularly fascinated by how eagerly my colleague shared even the most weirdly personal stories with me. Their eagerness puzzled me until I realized how badly people wanted to reintegrate corners of experience they'd walled off from their public lives for fears of being disbelieved. Have you ever had an experience like Dr. Mayer's or like those of her colleagues? Knowing things in bizarrely inexplicable ways. Have you? Have you? Yeah. But perhaps your inner FBI bosses have your inner Fox Mulder in a headlock, and your story has remained unvoiced and unintegrated into your life. This was definitely so for Barbara Ehrenreich, the labor activist, feminist, award-winning journalist, and fourth-generation atheist, who, in her book, Living with a Wild God, essentially comes to terms with a real-life X-file of her own, which she denied for many, many years. It happened when she was a teenager. She'd been walking down the street early in the morning when directly and viscerally she experienced oneness. She and the world were one. Her separation from it was an illusion. Time stood still. Barbara Ehrenreich says the world flamed into life. How else to describe it? There were no visions, no prophetic voices or visits by totemic animals. Just this blazing everywhere. Something poured into me and I poured out into it. It was a furious encounter with a living substance that was coming at me through all things at once. And one reason for the terrible wordlessness of the experience is that you cannot observe fire really closely without becoming part of it. Whether you start as a twig or a gorgeous tapestry, you will be recruited into the flame and made indistinguishable from the rest of the blaze. I could not speak of it because I lacked the words. And I could not recapture the experience any more than a burned out filament could be used to light a fresh bulb. Oneness happened for Barbara Ehrenreich. Her real-life X-file. And whenever there's an X-file, again, the repressive FBI bosses are close behind, and Ehrenreich reports their chatter faithfully. Here we leave the jurisdiction of language, she writes, where nothing is left but the vague gurgles of surrender expressed in words such as ineffable and transcendent. For years, her inner FBI bosses held full sway, persuaded her to reject the validity of her experience outright. For most of the intervening years, she says, my general thought had been, if there are no words for it, then don't say anything about it. Otherwise, she goes on, you risk slopping into spirituality, which is, in addition to being a crime against reason, of no more interest to other people than your dreams. What do you think? Do you agree with her inner FBI boss assessment that coming to terms with her mystical experience was a vague gurgle of surrender? That she was slopping? That word, slopping? I'm dancing up here for you. Slopping into spirituality. She was doing that, right? Committing a crime against reason. That if there's no words for something, just shut up. But not to have words for something is highly suspicious. There must be a backstory. Everything has a story. And so do our internal FBI bosses. Where are they coming from? What exactly makes paranormal experience so off limits, so impossible for them? Parapsychologist Hoyt Edge sees it as a consequence, ultimately, of 16th and 17th century European thinkers trying to escape the oppression of the church. They did this essentially through a conceptual revolution kicked off by philosophers like René Descartes, in which reality was divided into two categorically distinct realms. On the one hand was the realm of values, of ideas, of choice. That was called mind. And then the other was a realm of material stuff, machine-like in function, dead, inert, matter. Accordingly, the church could say whatever it wanted to say about the realm of the mind, but going forward, it needed to stay silent about the workings of the natural world. It needed to defer to everything science said. And over time, this conceptual revolution would solidify into inflexible dogma about the way the world is. The dogma says that matter is completely inert, completely dead, just surface, no spiritual depth in it. Action occurs only through direct physical contact, like atoms bumping into other atoms. Perception occurs only through direct line of physical sensation, if not through eye and ear, then mediated through scientific instruments like microscopes or telescopes. That's the inner FBI boss conviction. A dogma that has remained solid for most people even after almost 100 years of weird, completely verifiable, yet mind-blowing revelations coming from the field of quantum physics. So, when this dogma encounters something like dowsing, which dares to suggest that mind and matter are not categorically distinct after all, but can mingle and merge in ways that confound current science, well, instant rejection. That's impossible. But it's not impossible. It happened. Things like this can happen. Dr. Elizabeth Mayer, she found that harp. She put it in the back of her station wagon. She returned home. She turned into her driveway. And that was the moment when she realized that life had just addressed her with a huge question. And she would need to work hard, very hard, to come up with some answers that had integrity for her. She would have to unleash her inner Fox Mulder. That's what she'd have to do. And this is why I'm a Unitarian Universalist. I'm a Unitarian Universalist because I believe that the world and God are just too big to be defined by any one metaphor and any singular one way. The reason ours is a creedless faith, says the Reverend Bill Schultz, my colleague, is because we have a theory about creation, and our theory, unlike that of most religious traditions, is that creation is too grand, too glorious, too complex, and too mysterious to be captured in any narrow creed and reflected in any single metaphor. I'm hearing from over here. How about over here? Come on. Yeah. Yeah. And of course, this includes metaphors that come from reductionist materialist science and the heirs of Descartes. Life is constantly addressing us with huge questions, challenging us to open up our minds, open up our hearts, and that's what our faith calls us to, even when we're talking about weird stuff like the mystical. You know, in the X-Files TV show, a main theme is conspiracy. People wanting to silence Fox Mulder because if he does find out the truth, it's going to be horrible, right? Of course, if you watch the show, you know that the conspiracy essentially tries to cover up the awful, terrible fact that the government is engaged in biological experimentation on humans. If you've never seen the show, I apologize for spoiling it for you. You should watch the show anyhow, it's so cool. But so that's the conspiracy, right, that is in the show. But you know, in the real world where you and I live, what is being covered up is the exact opposite of terrible. If our inner Fox Mulders were given free rein, I believe that what would come to collective light is the realization that the interconnected web of all existence is true, but in profounder ways than we might have ever imagined. How the interconnected web of all existence is such that a dowser in Arkansas can use his dowsing rod to discover something true about what is going on in California. How interconnectedness means that a therapist can suddenly feel something wrong with their partner's son, that he's deep in trouble, so he calls their partner, the partner tracks that son down, and he gets there just in time to save his life. How interconnectedness means that a teenager back in the 1950s can experience the world flaming into life. A furious encounter with a living substance coming at her from all things at once and pouring out of her back to that. And she becomes one with all. Mystically, mysteriously, all things are connected together. People and things and planet. A connection that goes deeper than political party and all of our other identities that divide us. Deeper than that. More fundamental, for sure, than physical collision. Appearances are deceiving. The boundaries of our skin seem to be the boundaries of ourselves, but it doesn't have to be. Relationship is more real than separation. There are time stand-still moments, and when we have them, we come to know who we truly are. If this is slopping into spirituality, then so be it. Then so be it. We stand on the edge of all that is great, says the true life version of Fox Mulder, who comes from our own spiritual tradition and devoted his entire life to blowing the lid off of the conspiracy in his day, which was 150 years ago. His name is Ralph Waldo Emerson. We stand on the edge of all that is great, yet are restrained in inactivity and unacquaintance with our powers. Like workers of the hive, every one of which is capable of transformation into the queen bee. We are always on the brink of an ocean into which we do not yet swim. But suddenly, in any place, in the street, in the room, will the heaven open and the regions of wisdom be uncovered, as if to show how thin the veil. So says Ralph Waldo Emerson. And with him, I pray, let heaven be opened. Let the regions of wisdom be uncovered. Let us know how truly thin the veil is. Amen. Let's now join together for our closing hymn. The one. Far beyond the grasp of hands, or light to meet the eye, past the reaches of the mind, there find the key to nature's harmony, in an architecture so entwined. Like the birds whose patterns grace the sky and carry all who join in love expanding, the message of peace will rise in flight, taking the weight of the world upon its wings. In the oneness of everything. Peace is in the dance of trees who stir before the first breath of wind is yet perceived. Trust in the song becoming one with the dance, and all mysteries can be believed. Songs of lives on past that touch our own are written in the earth, ever giving. And now to maintain the harmony gives to us all lives worth living, for the oneness of everything. Still we seek to find a truth that we might understand and reduce to terms defined. Vast and immeasurable time and space, also overwhelmingly designed. Oh, passing years, just might I know the faith that winters in the heart, to be reborn in spring, to hear and to feel the pulse of life enters my soul as a song to sing of the oneness of everything. May you find yourself in a time standstill place to hear and to feel the pulse of life's oneness. Let it enter your soul as a song to sing about that oneness of everything. Let's extinguish our chalice as we say the words together. We extinguish this flame, but not the light of truth, the warmth of community, or the fire of commitment. These we carry with us until we meet again.